Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this. Today we're dissecting a really fascinating 10-year journey about escaping the paycheck-to-paycheck trap. But listen, this isn't your typical run-of-the-mill financial advice about getting rich quick or grinding until you completely burn out. Not at all. It's about a quiet, entirely invisible game that takes a whole decade to play. And honestly, the craziest part is that you play it completely in the dark.
Picture this scenario for a second. You're 34 years old. Just last night, your coworker, let's call him Ryan, sat down on your couch and straight up asked to borrow $2,000. Now here's the catch. 10 years ago, you and Ryan started the exact same job on the exact same week, sitting at the exact same desk, making the exact same salary. Everybody, and I mean everybody, said Ryan was going places. But yesterday, he needed a bailout. And you just handed it to him without even needing to check your bank account. So what gives? Well, the answer isn't about who had the bigger paycheck. It's actually about a quiet, almost unnoticeable decision you made a decade ago.
To really understand how we got here, let's rewind the clock and anchor ourselves right at the beginning. You're 24. You've got a real job, a decent salary, benefits, even a little plastic nameplate on your desk. Every 2 weeks, the money lands in your account, and every 2 weeks, bam, it's gone. Rent, car payments, those forgotten streaming subscriptions. You definitely wouldn't call yourself broke. But the harsh reality is you are exactly one flat tire away from a financial disaster you simply cannot solve. You just don't realize it yet.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how the trap snaps shut. On one side, there's you. You're standing next to your trusty, totally unremarkable Corolla, feeling like you're standing perfectly still in life. Then, on the other side, there's Ryan. He looks at his paycheck and decides, you know what, I'm going to buy a 3-year-old black BMW. When he pulls into the company lot, people definitely notice. Ryan is prioritizing visible success. He really looks like a guy who's pulling ahead. And you kind of look like you're losing. But here's the secret. Escaping the edge often looks exactly like losing on purpose.
Let's break down the math of the trap real quick. You get a $4,000 raise. You feel like you've totally made it. But within a week, that raise just dissolves. It vanishes into a slightly nicer apartment with, maybe a marginally better view of a brick wall, or the newest smartphone. 6 months later, you're right back on the treadmill, desperately waiting for the next raise. Even when a $1,500 bonus lands on your desk, you literally feel nothing because the math suddenly hits you like a ton of bricks. This is the next 40 years. 40 more years of the paycheck landing and leaving, only for you to still be one bad month away from broke.
But then, out of nowhere comes the turning point. You happen to strike up a conversation with a 60-year-old coworker. He drives a 10-year-old Honda and just never seems stressed about anything. You ask him his secret, and he drops this absolute truth bomb on you. There's a difference between looking like you made it and actually making it. Almost nobody knows which one they're chasing. Man, that quote hits hard, doesn't it? It completely forces you to go home, pop open your laptop, and confront the embarrassing, tiny little number that represents everything you actually own.
So what do? That very night, you take action. You don't rage quit your job or make some grand dramatic speech. Instead, you silently hatch a master plan. It's basically a covert operation for your finances. Every payday, the absolute first bill you pay goes directly to the future version of yourself. You move that money entirely out of reach so your late-night impulses can't even touch it. Then, you calculate a date, years down the line, where you'd be financially free if you kept this up. You circle that date on a calendar, fold the paper, toss it in a drawer, and you tell absolutely no one. You start starving the noise and feeding your future.
Let's move the timeline forward and see how this builds. We jump to age 26, maybe 27. You're still living in that exact same apartment, driving that exact same car. You've quietly just stopped fighting for flashy titles or bragging rights. But I'll tell you, this era is where the intense social costs of your secret plan really begin to rear their ugly head.
Imagine this. You're sitting at a friend's birthday dinner. It's a long table, 12 people. The guy across from you loudly announces he just made senior manager. The woman next to him is celebrating buying a new condo. Just loud, huge milestones all around. When the "how are you doing" question finally reaches you, you just shrug and say, things are fine at the same job. You watch all their faces do that polite, kind of disappointed thing. Driving home that night, you feel incredibly small. For years, your job title was your entire identity. By sacrificing that to fund your freedom, you genuinely feel like you're falling way behind in a race everybody else is sprinting in.
Now, what's really fascinating about this dynamic is the office pity. Ryan literally parks his upgraded BMW right next to your Corolla and genuinely, with real concern, asks if you're financially okay.
Your coworkers are whispering behind your back, assuming you must be sending all your money home to your family because you work so hard but have quote-unquote nothing to show for it. But the hidden reality? You've got more in savings than all of them combined, but you can't say a single word. You just eat at your desk in silence. Honestly, letting people think whatever they want is by far the hardest part of the game.
Fast forward a bit more to ages 29 and 30. This is the brutal stretch that nobody warns you about. You have been wildly disciplined for 5 years now, but doing everything right is starting to feel worse, not better. The doubt really begins to set in, and the isolation, it's just deafening.
You start deeply missing the loud scoreboard. You know the feeling? Your best friend buys a house, drops the photo with the keys in the group chat, and boom, 20 people react instantly. Fire emojis, congratulations, virtual applause. It is a massive psychological high. Meanwhile, your reward? It's the quiet life. You just have this secret number in a drawer that's growing so slowly. There is zero metrics. Nobody is ever going to clap for the guy who exercised restraint. I mean, you can't exactly drop a screenshot of your boring savings account into the group chat, right?
The temptation to just quit becomes almost unbearable. The rat race was exhausting for sure, but at least it clearly told you where you stood. One night, sitting alone in the dark, you literally open a car app on your phone. You find a newer model, financing is available, and your thumb is just hovering right over that apply button. Actually, scratch that. It's not even about the car at this point. For 30 seconds, you don't even care about the Freedom Fund. You just want to pull into the lot and turn heads. You want the applause. You just want to feel like a player again, the way Ryan always looks like he's winning.
But your thumb stays right there in the dark. You don't press the button. And thank goodness you didn't, because shifting our timeline up to age 31, the ultimate crisis hits. It happens on a random Thursday. A massive layoff sweep takes out half the floor right before lunch, and both you and Ryan get the email.
So the crucial point is how the two of you react to this abyss. The divergence here is just brutal. You have a 7-year safety net, but to protect it, you make some really painful choices. You swallow your pride and move right back into your childhood bedroom with the cracked ceiling. You sell your beloved motorcycle, but you take on absolutely zero new debt, buying yourself all the time you need to wait for the right job. And Ryan? Well, Ryan tries to keep the expensive apartment and the black BMW. He takes on massive new debt just to fund the image, and he grabs a substantially worse job in an absolute panic just to keep the cash flowing.
It's this massive, grand illusion. On the outside looking in, everyone thought you were the one who crashed and burned. I mean, moving back in with your parents at 31, it looked like a total failure. Ryan still looked like he was swimming effortlessly. But the reality? Ryan was secretly drowning in a hole that was quietly getting deeper underneath him every single day. By taking the humiliation instead of the debt, you were literally the only one who was actually safe.
Which brings us right up to the present day, age 34, the grand reveal. You eventually go back to work, but completely on your terms. The 10 years of those compounding habits, of staying quiet, of starving your ego, they finally tipped the scales. Time just stops being this terrifying thing you're always running out of.
You finally unlocked the actual metrics of wealth. Remember that flat tire at age 24 that would have totally ruined you? Now it's literally just a mild Tuesday errand. A bad boss is no longer a cage you're locked inside. It's a situation you can simply choose to walk away from. You sleep incredibly soundly because that secret number you hid in the drawer, it was never meant to buy a BMW. It was meant to buy the ultimate luxury, options, the immense power to just say no, and the ability to wait.
And what about that freedom date you circled on the calendar a whole decade ago? It arrives on a completely, totally ordinary Tuesday. Honestly, you almost miss it yourself. Nobody throws you a party. There are 0 fire emojis. You just look up at the end of the day and realize, wow, I crossed the finish line. It's a profound anticlimax. But then it hits you. The fact that absolutely nobody noticed your victory is exactly what makes it real.
So bringing it all full circle back to the present, there's Ryan sitting on your couch holding a coffee. The grand illusion is finally shattered. The people who looked like they were winning are exhausted, and one by one, they start coming to you. Ryan lowers his voice, clearly embarrassed, and asks you for a loan. But more importantly, he asks, how did you actually do it?
And you tell him the simple truth. For 10 straight years, nobody noticed you were winning, and that is exactly why it worked. You didn't escape by being vastly smarter, you escaped by playing a much harder game, completely in the dark. Which leaves us with this final thought for today. The rat race ends the absolute second you stop running for people who were never really watching anyway. So what about you? Are you still standing on the edge pretending you're fine? Or are you ready to circle your own invisible date on a calendar and finally start playing a game with no audience?